Welcome everybody. It is it is Sunday night. And this is in the Batter's Box. It is the NGSV Sports Weekly Baseball Show. I am your host, Rob Garcia. Of course, joined by the guy, Chicago, Windy City, home of the record-setting Chicago White Sox. Co-host of In the Batter's Box, Alejandro Vargas. ¿Qué pasa, pai?
Good to be here, man. Having fun with this whole week of baseball. It's was kind of strange, strange War Series, but yeah,
And ain't over yet.
we're ready to attack on this.
And ain't over yet. Baseball season might be over, but baseball ain't over.
No,
Of course, he is from the shores of Jersey, near the shores of Jersey, the host of the Enhanced Sports Show Saturday, 4 to 6 p.m. I don't know. I haven't checked on Louis lately. I'm sure he still has that. You better start. Keep calling in on Wednesday. Don't take a chance. And of course, a fan of the runner-up, second place, World Series losing New York Yankees and co-host of In the Batter's Box, Mr. Louis Tenor. Louis,
Ralph?
I know, Louis. It's more like a. You feel like you're more like at a mourn, a funeral or something right now.
Pretty much.
I didn't ask you to wear a tuxedo, so at least or a black suit. So, but Louis, I am going to wear your ass out, but not yet. Okay,
Yeah.
stand by. Just
No,
stand by.
I think, though, is more disappointed, though, in the 2001 loss, though, than this one.
Yeah, but you know me. I love it when they lose the World
Right.
Series. I don't care what year it is. I just do.
Right, I know.
Of course, the guy that helps me steer the ship. Sometimes when I take a break, he has to steer the ship. Of course, longtime friend, partner, co-host in the Batter's Box, Mr. John Doucette. John,
Ralph, as always, good to be with you.
another show. Of course, remember the website. It is ngscsports.com. Where you catch all of your current content. Log on to the website right now. Jordan Ria, our NBA writer, gives us the weekly NBA swing, winners and losers after opening week. Real nice piece there, how he breaks that down. Sammy Sportsface also has an NBA piece. He calls it in opening
I
NBA
hope
presser.
I hope it's not the Dwayne Wade statue, man.
No,
Mhm.
he needs to write one about that.
That's
In
true.
opening NBA presser, the Joker salutes Sammy Sportface.
Okay,
I don't know.
I know the movie flop, but
Yeah.
That's what I say. The Professional Women's Hockey League or the PWHL give us a little news on there. And the number one overall pick, Sarah Pilla, has been signed by the New York Sirens. John, teams got names. They've got logos. The ladies are signing players. Hey, I can't wait till it gets started again.
Yeah, she was the last of the first
Mhm.
round picks to be signed. And it's only a 1 year deal, which leads me to believe that the teams couldn't come to some sort of an extension, a 3 year deal contract with her. So they opted for the 1 year deal. The teams still don't have their sweaters yet. That's expected to come soon. The teams are expected to report to their training camps this coming Friday. And then from there, they will, after their physicals, they will head to Montreal where they will begin their training camps and eventually their scrimmages that lead into the regular season, which begins Thanksgiving weekend.
And Sammy Sportface starts the college basketball season a little too damn early. Not really,
No, it's not.
Tomorrow.
because it's starting. He gives us, will the 2024 Wake Forest basketball, will 2024 Wake Forest basketball make March Madness tourney belt? But anyway, that's from Sammy Sports. All that and more on NGSCsports.com. We're to stop. The baseball season has come to an end. And there is a World Series champion. And, you know, Louis, I always ask you the question, Louis, who's the only team that can beat the Los Angeles Dodgers? But in this case, you don't have to answer, Louis, because, well, it didn't happen. The World Series, the Dodgers, the Yankees. Louis, I'm not going to get in your case. I just had to say that. It just sounds good when I said that. Or maybe I might. I'm not sure, but I wasn't planning to. But anyway, Louis, listen, seriously. We talked about it before the series started. When I came to you and we, the guys, were talking to you about the Yankees, one of the things we said that there was no doubt about it. Aaron Judge, like John said over and over, stars had to be stars. And Aaron Judge, the biggest star in the Bronx, had to come up big. And Louis, what happened?
Well, from in the beginning of Game 5, when Judge hit the home run, and then there was a back-to-back home run, I thought maybe there was going to be something, magical happening. It's pretty tough to give a 5-run lead at home, especially in this part of the season. At 5-0, cruising along until the inning from hell came along in the bottom of the 5th, and everything just fell apart from there. But and from what happened in Game 4, when they were up slightly about 5-4, but then in the 8th inning just poured on, I thought maybe there's going to be a momentum shift coming. I thought maybe the Yankees would be able to take advantage of it. And for it looked like early on in Game 5, it looked like it was going to continue on. But then you make one dumb mistake, dropping the ball, and then everything just fell apart from there. From the 5th inning on, they just couldn't recover from it. So, what looked like from momentum shifter came to be a momentum breaker. That's how we lost.
I know. Yeah, it was bad. I mean, it was. I expected it to be. I did not expect the Dodgers to win 2 games in the
Yankees.
They did not.
Yeah. I did not expect. I never expected that. I saw the Yankees winning 2 of those games. But before I go to you, Alejandro, there was a post, Louis. I thought about you when I saw this post.
Uh-oh.
I don't mean to get a little political here, but it was really cute.
Yeah.
The post said, give me a second. If we could just find the Yankees could win the World Series if we could just find 2 or 3 runs somewhere.
Yeah.
You could just find. That was a reference to Trump's Georgia call. I think that's what the guy was trying to do on his post, but I don't know if he succeeded.
And of course,
but Alejandro, I expected. I didn't know who was going to win the World Series. Obviously, I didn't want the World Series. It was such an even matchup, really, when you look
exactly.
At it. But holy, that's not the way it turned out, man.
It turned out to be, whoever plays the cleaner games like LA did. They play a lot cleaner in terms of like defense. The Yankees kind of, when you watch the games, the games weren't like that far apart. They were like really close. Nothing like a blowout, like a 13-1 blowout. They were kind of close. And whenever you play in a team like the Dodgers, you cannot afford to make mistakes. You cannot afford to play unclean baseball in the field. You have to tighten everything you can, and also like have some of like your main guys doing more damage. You can't really bank everything on Soto and Stanton. I saw an at bat with like Austin Wells. I think it was the game before last, because that was the game that they lost before they won that game. I think that was game 3, Louis, I think. And he was swinging at everything, like you could tell. I think it was training. Oh no, Michael Kopech was kind of all over the place, and there was just like the inexperience of swinging. They should have used I don't know, because they looked like they were crazy making moves and things like that. But I think with LA you cannot play on a clean game. You have to tighten everything up. Unclean. I mean,
Yeah. And John, all of that, you take, of course, Judge into account. Freddie Freeman, geez, man.
Oh,
you want to pick a good time to get on a nice hot streak. Hey, listen, how about the World Series with home run after home run? And last but not least, John, we also talked about the managers and moves that managers had to make. And I think Aaron Boone made a couple of bad ones that might have helped cost the series.
Yeah.
Well, certainly the game one decision with Nestor Cortez instead of Tim Hill.
Exactly.
Was one that really they never really recovered from.
Yeah.
And the Yankee defense did get exposed in that series, and that was certainly one of their weak links throughout the regular season, and really the one thing that you had to be concerned about. They just didn't make the routine plays when they needed to make them to give themselves a chance to survive in that series. Not only the Judge fly ball drop, but then the bat throw from Volpe to try and get Hernandez at third, and then eventually Garrett Cole deciding not to cover first base when he mistakenly thought that Rizzo could beat Mookie Betts to the bag. I mean, those kind of mistakes just can't happen if you're going to survive in a series in which you're trailing and have been trailing it for most of. I mean, the combination of the stars not being stars for the Yankees, the mistakes that they made, and the managerial decisions that came back to haunt them really did spell doom for them. And it does make you wonder what the makeup of this team for next year is going to be like. And we've already started to see some fallout even in that direction.
I mean, in no defense to the Yankees, I mean, they tasted a World Series now, like this new breed of Yankees. They know what to do next time around. So if they make it to the World Series next year, I mean, I expect them then to play a lot cleaner than what they show this time around.
Well, with the decisions they're going to have to make, I mean, right now, third baseman,
we're going to hit that in a minute.
Yeah, they don't have a right fielder. One relief pitcher is going to be going, and who knows what's going to happen with their ace. This already is a team that looks vastly different from the one that was on the field last Wednesday.
Yeah, Louis. Again, the thing about the Yankees is the Yankees are built, and you're a Yankee fan and you're part of the Yankee organization. The Yankees are built to win World Series. Can't win one every single year.
No.
But I know this one hits hard, especially like the guys are saying, Louis. You don't know how many of your boys are going to be back and how that's going to impact next year.
I mean, I think Soto, well, he's a free agent, but I did hear I think he might go to the Mets. That was one of the top teams he was looking forward to going to. Judges were still going to be there, but there are a few things that there are a few players that are trying to make some moves in free agency, and tomorrow they'll start who might be going and who's going to be staying. But it doesn't look like it's going to be the same team as it was this past year. I think there's going to be some pretty good moves made. I think they're going to be doing a little cleaning house. I think they might want to get rid of it. And Boone, I don't know if he's going to stay or not. I mean, his contract is up, so we don't know if he's going to stick around as manager next year.
Yeah, and John on Monday, the World Series, of course, is over. The baseball season is over, but next season starts tomorrow, John.
Right, because with the World Series ending on Wednesday, the free agent period can begin earlier, which it will, and there are going to be a ton of names that are going to associate themselves with free agency, and you've already seen some decisions that some players have already made. Blake Snell has decided to opt out in San Francisco. Garrett Cole has already done it here with the Yankees, although the Yankees can give him $36 million and an extra year on the contract if they want to keep him around. Already there are a couple of free agents that have already apparently made decisions. Looks like Nathan Eovaldi is going to sign a $42 million deal with the San Diego Padres, and it looks like Alex Bregman is going to sign a $162 million deal with the Detroit Tigers. So some guys, it appears, have already made the decisions, but still, that list that's going to come out tomorrow is going to be rather lengthy.
So
How much money Detroit is giving Bregman?
162 is what's
Oh,
been
okay. I
reported.
thought it was say
yeah.
262.
No. It's a money friendly deal when you compare the other deals that have happened. And by the way, Alejandro, speaking of a couple of guys here, number one, Juan Soto, of course, with the
Yeah.
Yankees. Remember that Harper and Manny Machado got those $300 million deals where you can bet one damn thing for sure that Soto's going to get a whole lot more than $300 million. The other guy that I'm interested
$300 million. You're talking about $600 million.
No. I'm saying Machado and Harper got the $300 million deal. So now that Soto's deal is going to be probably in the range of $500 million or close to it. And I'm bringing him up because as a Mets fan, the Mets are serious about Soto. They're also serious about Corbin Burns. Very serious about Corbin Burns. So, talk to me about that. And of course, Blake Snell, like John said, Blake Snell is at it again. Hey, Blake, this didn't work last year, remember? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I talked to Eduardo when he was here. Eduardo's like the VP of operations of the Mets. And he was kind of telling me, like, okay, you have like somewhere around 100 million off the books coming off. So there's going to be a lot of movement with the Mets turn, just like a couple of days ago, say that they were going after anybody they want because they have the financial flexibility. I wouldn't be surprised if they target Soto hard, but I think the Mets, what they should go is pitching, especially now, because you're gonna have a crazy market with Burns. Now the Garrett Cole is also in the dance, so they're gonna have to focus on that. And I think there's a couple of guys that they could help a lot. They could help the Mets a lot, especially like keeping Mania and keeping Pete Alonso have to be key because you don't want to disrupt the chemistry that they had. They already made it to the NLCS. I would go after Corbin Burns and just work on the guys that they have in there. I think Soto could be. I mean, Soto is probably the best hitter in baseball, but I would not. I don't know. I don't like the dimensions of Citi Field and Soto. Same thing happened with the Padres when he went there. The dimensions didn't favor him. I think Soto is a guy that fits the Yankees like a glove. So I don't know. I mean, in terms of marketing, it's a lot of things.
No, I agree, John. I agree in the Soto thing. And I also agree, John, with something that Alejandro was saying, that the Mets are looking for pitchers. Me, as a Met fan, looking at my Mets team, I want not just one. I want two starting pitchers. I want maybe a Corbin Burns. I want a Jack Flaherty maybe.
Exactly. But remember, Mania is also a free agent.
Mania, right? I want to keep Alonso. That's without question. You have to do that. But yeah, that a lot of movement, John, there, for the Mets. And there are other pitchers there too, John.
Well, let's face it, for the Mets, they can't keep everybody. So if you're going to consider Corbin Burns, if you're going to consider Jack Flaherty, then that means that some guys have got to go. I tend to think that even though the Mets are going to have about $100 million to play with based on JD Martinez not being there next year, and then the
Escobar
contracts of Verlander Scherzer from their payroll.
Eduardo Escobar is also coming up.
Yeah, it's going to give them the flexibility that they need, but even with that flexibility, they're still going to have to prioritize exactly where they want to go with this because they can't go after everybody that they're going to consider to re-sign and to get into this team because it's going to put them over the salary cap again. It's going to put them back in salary cap hell again. And I think that at this point, the Mets, because they're out of that situation, would want to stay out of it as best they possibly can. So they're not going to be able to bring everybody back.
But they also have the two guys to do the job because Stern worked in Brizuela. They worked in Milwaukee for so long, and they built not championship teams, but they built contenders with a small budget. So I mean, they
That's
creative
the
enough.
problem. I mean,
They-
obviously, the Met fan base is not going to want a small budget here. They're going to want this team to spend money.
No, no,
And
no,
I just
no.
think that that's going to be the issue here.
But spending
Small
money
budget
is
ain't
not
fine.
necessarily the key. It's spending the money in the right guys.
Well,
I
obviously, you're
think
spending on the right guys, but who are the right guys here? That's what they're going to have to prioritize and figure out.
That is,
you know who I see, like if it's going to Detroit and hitting that huge park, he should go to the Mets. Bregman. I mean, he fits him perfectly. Just
Well,
play
look, I
third.
think
He plays solid defense.
what becomes
Uh,
interesting about the Detroit Tigers is, let's face it, the run that they made in September to make the playoffs, and then winning a round in the playoffs, and giving the Guardians all the trouble that they did in that division series, all of a sudden the Detroit Tigers have become a destination. Whereas I would say
He
2
does.
months ago that wasn't the case. They were not
But
a for anybody. But
I
now
don't I don't see unless they planning on adding another bat, maybe like I don't know, the guy from Baltimore. I forgot his name, the right fielder,
Oh, Santander.
yeah.
Santander. Unless you
Yeah.
add Santander, bringing Bregman by himself is not going to make a lot of change.
But that's still a division that's wide open.
It is. Yeah,
And that's
definitely.
why I think, with signing Bregman to that deal and based on what the Tigers already possess, you've got an ace pitcher that's going to be your Cy Young winner. This team is certainly built for a short-term possibility of being a serious playoff contender.
I don't know if it's a short term. I see him as a long term
Well, again, it's going to
troublemakers.
depend on how they manage this team, how they manage how long these guys are going to be under control, and so forth and so on.
Yeah, true.
But again, this is a team that right now is built for a possibility, and I think that's what Bregman's
Definitely.
looking for. He's looking for a possibility, and it appears that he thinks he's found one in Detroit.
Yeah,
Hey,
definitely.
Yeah.
That's
Hey,
another
look,
bat that is floating around. Santander. He's a kid that, I mean, he destroys fastball. He's a
Yeah.
30, 40 home run
Yeah,
type
we
of
have
guy.
44
Mm.
home runs this year. Yeah.
And left-handed bat. I mean, that's
Yeah,
a guy
yeah.
that fits Detroit perfect, actually.
Yeah,
Hey,
Listen,
Louis.
there are a lot of names that are going to potentially put themselves out there as free agents that are going to be very attractive to teams across the landscape, and
Yeah.
that's why this is going to become a very busy off season because guys are going to get
Sure.
signed, and they're going to get signed to big time money, and it'll be interesting to see who goes where. But there's no question there's going to be plenty of activity here.
Plenty of it.
Definitely.
Plenty of it. Hey, Louis, I was wondering,
course.
the Yankees got to work to keep signed Soto, but Gleyber Torres is another one
Yeah.
that you can lose. What are you hearing about that? What are you feeling on that?
Torres maybe, but I think Sato, because he said he's open to anybody. There was rumors that would go back to San Diego, but the team I think is the most he's looking forward to is the Mets. So, because I don't think the Yankees are going to cough up, and I think Sato was
That's
only
not a-
for a
that's-
1 year. For a
Even
1 year
the
deal,
White Sox should be calling Scott Boras about Juan Soto
yeah.
right now.
exactly.
They-
Because
All of them
The White
have to
Sox
call.
yeah,
Well,
I mean, especially
everybody,
the White-
everybody should be calling for him. Yeah.
Yeah,
oh, they are.
you never know.
They are.
But I also hear a lot Philly in the Juan Soto sweepstakes.
Well, that would be a hitter-friendly ballpark for him, no question.
Matt Dog just say yesterday, like, watch out with the Orioles. That might be a destination for him just to
So,
mess around the Yankees.
Well, let's face it. If you're going to let Santander go, then Soto would be a rather logical replacement.
Exactly.
Yes.
So what they have to work on is how they're gonna keep Burns and Soto. Because if Soto goes to Baltimore, he probably gonna demand a winning. I mean, not saying that the Orioles are not a winning team, but you're gonna need the pieces to compete.
Yes.
So
And
I
think
see that
with the Orioles,
combination.
It's all about is Hyde the guy to take this team to a deep run into the playoffs?
Yeah.
He's already had
But
two
also,
opportunities
they
at-
also a question mark because they have new ownership. So
Right.
how you deal with that?
Well, I
As an
think
Oriole
the
fan, I'll
ownership-
be like, what the hell these people are gonna do? Like, are they gonna spend tons of money or are they gonna
Well,
And
you're gonna find out
you
what
also have to lack up all the young kids
Right. Yeah.
like
and
the
this is what
Grayson
you're going to find out.
Rodriguez.
You're going to find out whether this ownership group is willing to spend the money that's going to be necessary to keep this core together, and what they're going to surround them with.
Yeah, exactly.
33 home runs, 99 RBIs, 840 OPS in 154 games. A wonderful postseason. They also got Hernandez,
Another guy.
another guy there on the list.
Another guy.
Yeah?
And
This guy's
and you
gonna
know
get paid.
you know where he fits like a glove. John Town, Boston
Boston.
Red Sox.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna
Mm.
say, John. That's a good fit up there in Boston.
Yeah, it is a good fit, and we're talking about an ownership group that for the past few years has not really spent any money. They've allowed the farm system to replenish and rebuild itself, which it has. And now it looks like the farm system is going to create the core of this next team that's going to hopefully contend. And so now you got to figure out what you're going to add to it to really make this team put them over the top and really make them the kind of contender that the fan base would certainly be interested in, and the ownership group would be interested in. So, I mean, yes, this team finished 81-81, which was a good start, but
Yes, it was.
they've got more things to do to put this thing together.
Yeah.
Okay. How you guys feel about Christian Walker?
Walker is a guy that I mean he. I don't
Whenever he
know.
got
I don't know
hurt,
how wise is for Arizona to let him walk away, because he's a hell of a first baseman. I mean,
Well,
and
I would
he
think
does it with the bat and he does it with the glove. I mean, you want somebody like that. The only knock that I say in Christian Walker is the age. He's 34.
34,
So
yeah.
I mean, he looks like a young 34.
Yeah.
But like he's not gonna get anything over like 4 years, 5 years, maybe.
I would say
pushing
that if the Mets are going to allow Pete Alonso to go, then
Option
Christian
there.
Walker would be the guy to go after.
Could be coming to the Yankees.
But also remember, if Pete Alonso walks, they also have Mark Vientos, and they also have Ronnie Mauricio that's recovering.
Yeah, I'd like to get a better look at Vientos. Yeah, I like.
Yeah, Vientos a third. I don't like Vientos a third. That's my boy. But I don't know. He's kind of weird in there. But I think the Mets have a lot of work also because they have to see where Ronnie Mauricio fits into this. I like Mauricio. He's a kid that has an electric bat. He's kind of with at least less speed of kind of Elio de la Cruz, but he's a better hitter actually. So I like to see him. I like to see he's an option at third, and they could move this guy to. That's in case they don't go after. They don't try to resign Pete Alonso.
I'm hoping
They have a lot of work, man.
A lot of work, man.
And it's fun. It's going to be fun watching them. What they're going to do.
Absolutely. John, of course, we can talk about all the stars and the hitters and the pitchers and all. But, relief pitchers also play a major part in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And they also go into free agency. And I looked at a guy like Tanner Scott, man. He gets his first All-Star selection earlier this summer. Had a strong finish, close to the 1.75 ERA. I like another guy who looks to get paid, John.
And I think he'll end up being a closer for somebody when he eventually doesn't get paid.
Yeah.
I think that's where he ends up going. I mean, Clay Holmes is another one who found a new role in that Yankee bullpen and really thrived during the playoffs in that role. And I would think that he, too, is somebody that has revived his marketability to get paid in the offseason. Look, every team needs relief pitching. I mean, that's the way this game is built. I mean, just look at the way the Dodgers pulled this off. They basically did it with their bullpen. They didn't do it with their starters. And so that really is the way that baseball is going nowadays, is with bullpens. And if you have a strong bullpen, it's going to keep you in plenty of games. That's going to allow you the opportunity to make a playoff run. And I think the way the Dodgers did it would be the classic example of how you can do it. but you need that kind of a bullpen to be able to pull it off. And unfortunately, the majority of teams just don't have it.
I think with Tanner Scott, it's a curious thing. I mean, Tanner Scott, I mean, I'm sure he wants to close, but I think they're going to have to surgically remove him from Mike Shield. I think Mike Shield, he loves the guy, and I see him in San Diego actually as a setup man, or maybe as a backup for Robert Suarez. It's he picked the second one, and Mike Shield is an artist in terms of managing bullpen. So I don't know. I like him in San Diego as a setup man.
Listen, you said San Diego. Max Fried. How about him in San Diego?
I don't know. Might be a good choice, but I don't think the Braves can afford to not negotiate hard and go hard.
What happened with them this year and all the injuries
They don't have a lot of pitching backup.
Yeah, they really don't. And I think Max Fried is somebody that they really need to consider bringing back.
And that farm system, I mean, it looks like no hope there. I mean, they have some arms, but I don't know. It's just, I mean, they hit a jackpot with Chris Hell, but Chris Hell is not going to be doing
that's
it.
What it's a short-term jackpot. That's the problem.
Now, I want to go back to Blake Snell because we know what happened last year.
Oh yeah,
yes. We know what happened. The gamble that Blake took last year. He ends up signing a 2-year, $62 million with the Giants, and then he comes into this season, and I mean, good God Almighty, was it like 0-3, 0-4? He had an ERA of almost 10. Yeah, he finished strong down the stretch, 5-0, 1.23 ERA in his last 14 starts. But you know what bothers me about this? I mean, again, nothing wrong with Blake Snell, but he's going to get paid for the 5-0 down the stretch, and no one's going to take into account the beginning of the season whatsoever.
Also, let's add something here. He didn't go through a regular spring training.
No.
So that might be a effect of that rough start. It's the same thing with Montgomery, but Montgomery never recovered.
No.
And
with Blake Snell, I think that you're talking about a guy who can still be a top of the rotation guy.
Oh, definitely.
But somebody that really does need to, I think, commit to a team. Mm-hmm. This bouncing around is really not going to do him any good, and it's just going to look. He's not somebody that you can just bring in a short-term setup and hope that he can be the savior that gets you, or the final piece that gets you to a playoff run. And that's really what the Giants were hoping for here, and it didn't work. And of course, the longer it took to sign him, his unwillingness to go through a minor league rehab to really get himself ready, just put the Giants in a bad spot in the first half of the season. They never recovered from it. I don't necessarily think the Giants are all that unhappy that Blake Snell has opted out of this deal, because they just don't think that the marriage between him and that team worked.
And shortstop, another position. Listen, Alejandro, how about that guy named Willie at short?
Willie Adames.
Oh, man, listen.
I mean, he had an incredible season. I mean, he took off a little bit of his defense to add to the offense. But Willie's a guy that he's gonna hit 25 home runs. He's gonna hit you around to 60 to 80. He's going to drive in 80 to 90 RBIs. I mean, he's a very good shortstop. What I hear, LA is really heavy on him. They need a shortstop, and I think that might be the guy for them.
Yeah, I think the idea of Mookie Betts returning to the infield is probably not a great idea.
It's not a great idea. And also, I mean, if you look at like most teams, they already have a shortstop. So except for LA, that I mean, they toying around with the idea of Tommy Edman, which is an incredible baseball player. I love Tommy Edman from the day of St. Louis. I mean, he's a guy that could play anywhere. But I see Tommy Edman better off in second and stuff like that. I like them to get a solid shortstop. Not saying that Edman is not a solid shortstop, but he's more profile is better at second base.
Well, let's face it, the Dodgers can, play from strength here because they've just won a world championship. And so they can basically bring this team back if they want to, or they can add to it if they want to. I mean, they really have all the leverage in the world here, so they can basically do whatever they want to do and still be a rather competitive team. As it appears that the San Diego Padres are still throwing money around trying to beat them, and they haven't figured it out yet. They haven't put the right group together that can do it. They had that shot in the division series. They had them right where they wanted them, and they still couldn't pull it off. I just think that the Dodgers at the moment, the leverage that they possess, the intimidation that they possess is really something that the rest of this division just can't handle. And as long as that seems to be the case, they can basically do whatever they want.
Definitely.
And I'm going to give you one more name before we move on. 40 years old. He's earned his stripes. But what do you think about Mad Max and the last ride for Mad Max?
I just don't think there is I don't think there's a ride. I just don't think there is.
He thinks
No.
there is. He
I'm
thinks
sure he does, obviously. I'm sure he does, but I just don't think that if I'm a major league team and I'm looking for a final piece to what I think is a potential playoff puzzle, he's not at the top of my list.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, we're talking about not only he's got the back and hamstring issues, man. And I mean, it really, really shut him down in 24.
Yeah.
I mean, he couldn't really give anything, and I just don't see it. He said, I'm just paraphrasing his words, he believes he can still pitch at a high level if healthy. Max, that's the problem. Max is. I don't think you can stay healthy.
If I'm going to take a chance on somebody, I'd rather take a chance on Justin Verlander than I would Scherzer.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah.
Very good comparison there. Yes, I would. Yeah,
I would take it right away.
Yeah, if I had to pick from the two, definitely pick Verlander.
I would have picked any of them actually for the right price.
No, I'm not touching Max Scherzer. That his medical issues are too much to consider.
Yeah, it's just it's over for him.
Yeah, it is. It's over. I agree.
It really is. I mean, that's.
I don't know.
Somebody's gonna.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody's gonna be foolish enough to do it. Obviously, somebody's gonna
pull the trigger.
And unfortunately, they're gonna run into the problems that that Texas ran into, and that the Mets ran into at the tail end. He's just not a guy that's healthy enough to give you 30 starts a year anymore.
And obviously, he's gonna have to take one hell of a pay cut from that 40.
Oh, definitely. Definitely, a lot of incentives. I will do I don't know,
incentive laden
very
contract.
low amount, and then incentive laden.
Can you stand up for 3 months straight? Can you? I mean,
you get 100. You get 100,000 for that.
Yeah, I'll put all kinds of stuff in there. Yeah.
But also, I mean, Max is a fighter, so I think he's probably gonna demand that of himself. So
yeah, no doubt he's a fighter.
I don't know. I would not put him down yet. Not yet. I don't know.
I would again. Max would be somebody that if I was desperate enough, I would consider. But there are other pitchers and players that you would go after first before you'd ever consider him, and I think that's why. The idea of Scherzer getting anything near what he wants is probably it shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Talking about Texas, what is the deal with Jacob deGrom?
Another guy that I think the Texas Rangers made a mistake in terms of signing. It hasn't worked, and you got to wonder if they're going to find a way to part ways with him too.
He can't. He just cannot. He can't even stay.
They dodge a bullet in Flushing, man.
Yeah, they did.
They did.
They really did.
So, gentlemen, I start off the last segment like this. I've done this before and probably here in other shows. 1973, 1974, I'm reading the Daily News. I see a very little section. It's small. I mean, I'm talking about a small little section.
Yeah.
Talked about this woman who was going to take over as the women's head basketball coach at the University of Tennessee. And her name was Pat. Her name was Pat Head. She would not only be the head basketball coach, she would do the laundry, she would drive the bus. And it was something about the story that just intrigued me because I was just a kid. I didn't know.
Yeah.
When you're a coach, right? You're the big person on campus. And she's going to have to drive the bus and do the laundry. So that kind of stuff. So I said, let me follow the story. And of course, remember back then, Alejandro, we didn't have any internet, and we went to the library. Remember the library, Louis? John, remember the library, John?
I do.
Pull out the little drawer with all the index cards in there, and you have to find what you're looking for. What I'm getting at is this.
Yeah, really.
That started the movement for women's sports. In this case, it was women's basketball. There's no such thing as women's football, no such thing as women's baseball. At that time, women played basketball, not much, but there was no basketball. And little by little, the sport grew. With women's soccer, that's popular. Women's college basketball, the last 2 years has just exploded.
Yeah.
Absolutely exploded. Obviously, Caitlin Clark injuries. And by the way, for those of you that don't like hearing it, yes, Caitlin Clark. So just get over it. That's how much power she wields. She really does.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of these have changed the game. And then look at what happened this year to the WNBA. Yes, for me as a Liberty fan, oh my God, my Liberty are finally champions. But more importantly, merchandise sales, attendance. It has been absolutely unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Here we have a baseball show. And one thing that unfortunately we've never been able to talk about or think about is women's professional baseball. We just got the women's version of the NHL and the PWHL that we have had the privilege. John was right there for the inaugural championship. I mean, a lot of milestones for women. And now the news comes out, and I'll read over here because I love this. David K. Lee from NBC News. A great little piece he wrote. And I love the way he starts it when he says, it's been nearly 7 decades since women in the U.S. have had a hardball league of their own. By the summer of 26, however, the organizers of the newly announced Women's Professional Baseball League, the WPBL, hope to have 6 teams of women in caps and cleats competing on diamonds that have been used almost exclusively by men for nearly a century and a half. Now, John, the thing about this endeavor, unlike the others, now the PWHL kind of falls into this because there's been no kind of professional women's hockey league. But if you go to places like Minnesota and all those other places, listen, girls play hockey all the time up there. This is an endeavor, John, that's going to start from scratch. There's no teams. There's no players. I mean, wow, this is going to be a hell of a job, John. That's why they say they hope to do it.
Well, as you go further into that piece, he attempts to make the comparison between the success of the WNBA this year in terms of the attendance and in terms of the merchandising sales that you mentioned. He also mentions the NWSL, the National Women's Soccer League, that on Friday night just announced that they did 2 million in attendance for their regular season this year and have a big television contract that they're going to be taking advantage of. And he also mentions the PWHL. And in the PWHL's case, that was a league that was really put together basically at the last moment. It was a league that they were trying to figure out whether it made sense to start it last year, whether it made sense to start it in 2025. They decided to wait. They decided to do it last year, and it worked, although it did get off to a rough start. But nevertheless, it eventually did work with the corporate sponsors that they possessed and the attendance that they got, which really got started in Canada, kick-started in Canada, but eventually did come here to the U.S., and things really started to explode somewhat to the point where they're talking about expansion for the next season, adding 2 more teams to make it an 8-team league. Now, this baseball league that is being put out there, they're talking about 6 teams, all located in the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
I think is the real interesting part to all of this. They're looking at where I am and where Louis is located to be able to get this thing started. Where they're going to find these players, I think, does become a very interesting question here.
Exactly.
You're not playing women's college baseball,
Exactly.
high school college baseball, and so I think what you're talking about is a lot of softball players that will eventually be transformed rather from softball to baseball, and that is how this is going to get started. How good these players may become, or for that matter, how long it's going to take them to make that transformation from one sport to another, I do think becomes a very interesting question here. And the ultimate question is going to be, can this league find enough corporate sponsors to make it work? The one advantage that the PWHL had was they had a ton of sponsors that were willing to back this thing. And it was that money that really convinced them to go ahead and start that league last year. If this league can come up with some corporate sponsors, I think they'll give it a shot. If they can't, then either it becomes a dead issue or they just wait a little longer.
Before I go to you, Alejandro, Louis, women's baseball, what do you think?
I like the idea. I mean, like I said, it was a league of their own, and I think it'd be great. With all what's happening with the women's hockey league, which has been a success, the WNBA has exploded. There's no reason why women's baseball league can't succeed either. Just find location of the players, and you think you're all set.
The one thing about WHL that everybody has to understand is the success of that league is so unusual because it had no national television contract.
Right.
WNBA has their national television contract.
They had all that success on YouTube.
Has their national television contract. The PWHL does not have a television contract. They were putting games on YouTube, and they were putting them there for free so that people could be exposed to the players and eventually the sport.
It worked. And it worked.
Now, could they take this approach and put these women professional games on YouTube for free and hope that the same thing happens, which eventually allows for corporate sponsors to become interested? Again, that's another question that they're going to have to answer. But that was really the method that the PWHL used to make this thing work, and it did. But it's not, I don't think, a surefire way to get this thing off the ground.
Alejandro, before we get you, I want to read a little more to give you a little more context so you can go in deep. He says, the Ruthian task of securing franchise owners, 6 northeastern cities, stadiums, and sponsors might pale in comparison to the league's most basic need: players with experience in American pastime. Now, here's a kicker. No state offers girls baseball as a high school sport.
Right.
Still, there were 1,372 high school girls who played on boys baseball teams across America last academic year. Hold on.
How many?
1,372. He insisted that those 1,372 girls don't accurately reflect the true talent pool of girls and young women playing hardball outside of school campuses.
I mean, if they have that amount of girls that are already doing it, I mean, it might be a good thing to do like 6 teams or something like that. and they just like weed out like the best talent. But it's that's when you guys came up with this concept and explaining this to me, that's all I could think of. Like, where would they find talent? Because if that's the case, why they don't make women's softball more pageantry into that, like make it more colorful and maybe sell it as a professional sports league. But women's baseball, it's insane to find talent.
Yes.
I would think, as far as the stadiums are concerned, you're talking about minor
Yeah,
league.
but that's easy. Yeah, that's
Yeah, you're
easy.
talking
Yeah,
about
he mentioned that here. They were talking about college campuses.
Right.
Yeah, they'll be using colleges as well.
Yeah, that's easy to find. The talent is the true
That's going to be
challenge.
the problem, yes. And I would think that what they'll do in 2025 is that they will run tryouts all over the country to gauge the interest and see what kind of talent they can find.
Where was it? I saw that.
In terms of sponsors, I could think about a whole bunch of things, like even makeup or whatever.
And
a
I
lot
would
of stuff
assume
like even Victoria's Secret could be a sponsor.
Right, and I'm assuming we're talking about a wood bat league too, by the way. It doesn't mention in that article whether we're talking about wood bats or aluminum, but I would think we're talking a wood bat league here.
Oh, hopefully. I mean, it depends what also the dimensions that they're going to use. Are they going to do the regular dimensions that dudes play on?
Yeah, are we talking about 90 feet? Are we talking about 60 feet, 6 inches and 90 feet base bats?
Yeah.
The league co-founder, Justine Siegel, says they still have many decisions to make before the league takes the field in 26, but they have outlined several key goals for its development. One, a player draft in November of next year, a year from now. With the prevalence of two-way players, the roster will likely be far less than the 26, the number typically suited for an MLB game.
Mm-hmm.
The leagues aim to play approximately 40 games from May to August in college or minor league stadiums with a capacity of about 2,500 to 5,000 fans. Siegel says she's leaning towards a 7-inning game. I think that's smart.
Yeah.
It's a standard for women's international baseball. And last, the organizers are mulling over the more intricate rules of current MLB play, such as a pitch clock, shift bands, and the universal designated hitter.
They shouldn't play around with that. They got to play regular baseball and then you implement the rules.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, let's play baseball first. Yeah, right.
Exactly. I mean, I come from a country that's baseball breathing island, and to be honest with you, it's really hard. It's really hard for a boy to play baseball in the Dominican. Imagine a woman.
I do wonder if this league would consider tapping into that European market to see if they couldn't find some women to bring over here and add to that talent pool of the 1,300.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. They may.
Let's see, boys.
Well, I mean, players from Japan, players from South Korea, players from Taiwan, for instance, that maybe those players would come over here if they're playing women's baseball, would come over here and add to that 1,300 and make the talent pool even bigger. And consequently, you could put 6 teams together and give this thing a shot.
Yeah, remember also like guys that identify as women, they might want to.
Transgender language.
No. We don't want any of that. We don't want any of that. No, you know what they need?
90 miles per hour.
You need to make a league. They can make a league for them, and we'll watch. They can make a league for them. Stay away from the MLB. Cream cheese pound cake. Well, that sounds good.
That's the name of one of the teams?
No, that's a picture. That's a recipe that I'm gonna make.
Cream cheese pound cake.
Maybe she did for a team, though, I think.
Yeah.
I just find it interesting that they decided the Northeast would be the
Now, yeah, let's talk about that because
Yeah,
that is
true.
interesting. Why would you? Why? I mean, all 6 in the Northeast. I mean, it is going to be played in the summer though. But
still.
what is
That's
why?
another thing. Like you don't want if you want to introduce a product, you shouldn't conflict it with like men's baseball. You
They're
should
not
have do
going
it
to
in winter
have a
time.
choice. Well, that's what
You should
baseball.
have
They
do
don't
it in
have a
winter
choice.
time and do it in Arizona. Maybe this Arizona's plenty of
Okay,
fields in
yeah,
Arizona.
Well,
obviously you can't do that with 6 Northeast teams, right? unless
no.
you're gonna go play in 1 or 2 or 3 stadiums down there.
Yeah.
Well, don't forget the Major League started with only the same way with 8 teams on the East Coast. I mean, the West Coast didn't come into like what the 1950s.
Well, think about, again, use the PWHL as an example here. Think about that makeup of the league and think of where 5 of the 6 teams are located.
Mhm.
You've got a team in Boston, you've got a team in New York, you've got 3 teams in Canada. The only one that's really a fish out of water is Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Well, Minnesota's
And
close to
it
Canada.
works.
True.
Yeah. Let's see.
2 hours north.
Right.
I mean, the whole concept, the whole everything that you guys are mentioning is unbelievable, and it's a good thought. It's a good idea. My problem
And the
is,
other thing that Siegel
where
did
are we
that
going to find the
believe
talent?
is he believes
No,
they
no,
have
no.
a television contract.
Yeah, no. Listen, the talent is it because you
Right.
can't just it just hit me.
And playing quality, because like
Right.
you could like
right.
basketball, you got basketball, and you got kids trained from like age
Right.
11 or 10. You got girls training from that age.
Yeah,
They make
baseball's
it
going to
to
be a whole
college.
different
They
monster.
play.
You can't. Yeah, because if this is going to succeed, John, if this is going to succeed, that's a good point Alejandro made. Because at least with basketball, girls have been playing basketball for so long.
Soccer
Oh,
too.
sure.
Same thing with hockey too. When you think about it,
Hockey.
Hockey, right?
Right.
But they
Still
haven't
hockey,
been
though.
playing baseball, and this could backfire real bad if you don't have some kind of quality of players in there, John.
Absolutely, and that's why I'm convinced that softball would have been the better option as opposed to
Yeah.
baseball.
Yes. Because
Make it
girls
more
do softball
colorful.
better.
I think they could make it more colorful and have like an organized league, and then you could work on this baseball league for women as a long-term project.
Yeah,
You introduce baseball to young girls, like really young girls, like maybe in elementary school, and
Yeah.
start developing players there until you reach like college level and all that. But
At least high school
just from
level.
scratch, it's gonna be
Yeah.
hard.
And I really like the softball thing because at least we have that now. At least you'll get competitive.
And they play
there.
their ass off,
Yeah,
man.
you're right.
And
Now, look, guys, remember, we don't know the talent amongst those 1,372 girls. We don't know the diamonds in the rough that may be found out there in league, because there are leagues. There are baseball leagues, women's baseball leagues all across the country in the United States, hundreds, thousands of them. So maybe,
Really, all it would take is a couple of diamonds in the rough to make this thing work.
that's it. And that's just it. There it is, John. You just need a couple to kick it off. That's all you need. Because anybody knows that you're not going to get, real.
I like the long term outcome of this.
Absolutely.
It's something positive.
Use the WNBA as the example. If you take Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese away from this league, what do you have? You got a pretty good league, but that's all you have.
But you don't have what you have with them.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, we could work. We could also work some stuff in Latin America, like with training women how to play baseball.
Hey, let's find some girls out there.
You have some women that are involved with Major League Baseball in a coaching variety.
The coaching, or management.
Right? That could help to make this thing potentially work based on the contacts that they possess and the experience that they have, that they might be able to lend that to this league to give it some some opportunity to actually work.
Jessica Mendoza for commissioner.
There's
Why
a
not?
start
True.
right there. There would be a start right there.
Good idea.
There you
Good
go.
idea.
There you
That's a
go.
very good idea. Yes.
I think that
Oh,
would be a
Kim
whole
and G is a free agent.
That
So.
would be another one. There's
another one.
another idea.
You gotta get the big names involved. And what's bigger right now that you see every week and you hear her, you know Jessica's name, you know who she is. That's a face right there. Hey, I like
Exactly.
I like it. I like what it looks like. Louis,
Yeah.
I do too.
final thoughts, Louis.
No, another season comes to an end. I really thought it was going to go 7 games. I really did. I really did think it was going to go 7 games. Okay, Zachary, I get it. Mhm.
Yeah, I cannot make fun of Lou because my team sucks. So
Yeah, I know.
Louis,
Winners and losers.
I'm proud. I'm proud of the Bronx.
Louis,
Thanks.
I was so happy when that
Mhm.
final out happened, and I got to watch the Los Angeles Dodgers celebrate and stomp the field at Yankee Stadium. That felt pretty
And while I
good.
was watching the big,
Come
and
on,
while I was
Ross.
watching the
Don't
big,
be like that, boy.
I'm being nice. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but
I'm being nice. I'm on the air.
Louis don't want to hear that shit, man.
Let me tell you something. If
Well,
we weren't on the air,
He's been through enough pain, man.
if we weren't live, Louis would leave us in a second if we weren't live.
Oh, hell yeah.
He's
well,
a
yes,
get
he's
out.
busy throwing up.
damn them Yankees. I'm glad they got their asses handed to them.
Well, let's put it this way.
Alejandro, final thoughts, Alejandro.
Well, happy about winter baseball, man. Yadier Molina
Yes.
took over Las Águilas Ibaeñas. They started really rough. I think 2-7, and he took over. He's 4-1 right now in the Dominican and showing he went there with a cast of other players like Forcal, Carlos Gomez, that they understood the organization, and Yadi's baseball IQ. They put in a great show together over there. So far, all the prodigies from La Russa are doing good because also Pujols is doing great over there, and so is Fernando Tatis, senior, not junior. So looking good, man. Baseball is looking good. Puerto Rico is about to start if they didn't.
That's right. They're about to
Haven't
start.
already, yes.
Yeah, and they introduced a new. They kind of reintroduced the Senators, Santurce. So
Yeah.
that's going to be fun.
John, final thought.
Well, the White Sox have begun their retooling by hiring a new manager, and Will Venable the opportunity to be the on-field skipper of whatever shows up in Arizona in 3.5 months when training camp begins. For the past couple of years, he's been working with Bruce Bochy in Texas as an associate manager, so he's been able to pick the brain of a pretty good guy to help him to get this thing started after spending 8 years playing in Major League Baseball. But there's no question that Venable has a monumental task ahead of him to survive with an organization that is certainly in turmoil and an organization that is trying to figure out whether they want to maintain ownership of this baseball team or whether they just want to run.
That's going to be tough. Well, and by the way, Will Venable looks like he's 12 years old. Like doesn't age that man.
Yeah, well, he won't stay that way for long.
Yeah, he's going to get gray hair and
he's going to get lots of them. Yes,
before I do,
get lots of them.
Well, I mean, for me, it's Monday. First thing about free agency for me is always who's going to get overpaid, because I'm always curious.
A lot of them will.
Right. What teams are going to reach? And I mean, really, really reach. Where's Juan Soto going? Do the Mets get to keep Pete Alonso? The Yankees, as much as I hate the Yankees, baseball's better when the Yankees are better. What's going to happen with them? So a lot going on. A lot going on. It's the off season.
Yeah.
Our schedule here will change just a bit. Might not be on every week, but I'll check with the guys and we'll make sure we have a good agenda. Alejandro, you make sure that you keep up with winter ball so you can be our winter ball guy in the off season. John, I don't have to worry about John. And Louis, let me know when Yankee Stadium falls.
I mean, look, what I think becomes interesting here is this: the Dodgers won, but yet they're going to be the first team that opens up training camp because they're going to Japan in the middle of March to begin next season. So their off season is going to be short. I mean, after all, 3.5 months from now, pitchers and catchers are going to report to training camps across Arizona and Florida, and the college baseball season begins on Valentine's Day. So really not talking about all that long of a time before baseball returns to full force.
Definitely.
Oh, hey, one more thing I forgot.
We forgot to touch the options.
Oh, we got something. There we go. Put that on the menu. Hey, by the way, one more thing for my final thoughts. Buster Posey.
True.
That was a surprise.
He shook me too. The guy has no experience, but
I mean that was.
Well, let's face it. I think that this is what Buster Posey's been doing since he retired from being an active player, is that he's been involved in a behind-the-scenes capacity with the Giants, learning the job, learning the responsibilities of the job, and just learning how the whole thing operates from a financial and from a management point of view, so that when he was given this opportunity, that he would at least have some knowledge of what he's getting into. Be interesting to see. I mean, let's face it, Blake Snell is already the first decision that either was in his hands or out of his hands, and so we'll see how he replaces Blake Snell. But really, how he handles the minor league system, how he handles free agency, the financial part of this. I mean, there's an awful lot that goes into this that I'm assuming that Buster Posey has had some education on.
Zach Manassian, GM, first move, a scout. He made the scout a GM.
From where?
Well,
that was Posey's first move.
It was Posey's first
move. Okay. I'm trying to look at the farm system and
part of the Giant organization for some time, and has certainly been a key contributor to those World Championships that the Giants have been a part of. And so I'm assuming that he's being rewarded for that experience as a scout to become the general manager of this team. But still, you're talking about an inexperienced staff that's going to take this ball club over in a division that is being dominated by one particular team. There's an awful lot that can be questioned here.
An awful lot. All right, so we have another show wrapped up in the books, everybody. The season is over. Season 9 will fade into season number 10 of In the Batter's Box. But we're not going to go anywhere. The guys won't let me go anywhere. At least I know John won't let me go anywhere.
Yes.
I guess not. So thank you for joining us this evening for another episode of In the Batter's Box. This is the NGSV Sports Weekly Baseball Show. Please remember the website. It is NGSVSports.com, where you catch all of your current content. Football season, bowl season is coming. The NFL season is halfway over already.
College basketball begins tomorrow.
Basketball begins tomorrow. It's nonstop. Thank you guys for joining us this evening. We'll let you know when we be back. That's for sure.